Hi, I'm Chris Martirano with American Music and Sound and our cool friends here at Craft Music, where they put together those great bundles for you at fantastic value, offering you all the great accessories so you get the most out of your instruments. It's my privilege to show you Nord Stage 3, the latest in the evolution of the Nord Stage line. The Nord Stage 3 comes in 3 different keyboard lengths, an 88-note hammer-weighted action, a 76-note hammer-weighted action, and a 73 waterfall key action that's semi-weighted. On the 73-note model, instead of having the light trees for drawbars, you have physical drawbars, which is very cool. What's new in the Nord Stage 3? The Nord Stage 3, like the Nord Stage 2 and its predecessors, has 3 separate engines: an organ engine, a piano engine, and then a synthesizer sample playback section. Let's look at, for example, at what they've done to the piano section. They've doubled the polyphony from 60 voices to 120. Right away, that's an awesome improvement. Secondly, they've doubled the memory from 1 gigabyte to 2 gigabytes. And they use a lossless data compression format, so you can really pack a lot of sound in there. If you've checked out Nord's libraries, you know they offer the libraries, their sounds in 3 different flavors: small, large, and extra large. I think now there's even a medium version, so you can pick the ones that you want to put in your instrument and the sizes that you want to use. I tend to omit some of the instruments like harpsichord I don't need for myself, so I replace them with larger grand pianos, for example. They've also added 3 different EQ curves that are built right in now into the piano section. One boosts the lows a bit, one boosts the mids, and one boosts the highs. This is a nice addition in addition to the EQ section found in the effects section. We're going to listen to some of these examples shortly. The last thing that I want to point out is they've added a new category. There was pianos, electric pianos, harpsichords, clavinets. Digital is a category now offering FM instruments. And then also you have layers. Layers are these smaller versions of instruments that are electroacoustic mechanical instruments that you can now use as layers behind synth patches or organ patches as you're building your front panel configurations. Next, let's look at the center control section. In this section, there's a beautiful OLED display featuring a lot of information, giving a lot of real-time feedback, such as if I change my drawbar settings, I can see the drawbar settings in the display. I can now see my zones if I'm splitting or layering. I can see the ranges that they're spread across. I can see information about adjustments I'm making to the sounds. Really great addition. In addition, also now you can split 4 different places. It used to only allow 3 different split points. To me, this is really valuable as we're all controlling external sounds as well. It might be from some kind of iOS device or it might be from a computer. So now you have 4 splits, which is nice. Of course, you can use them as layers as well. They've also now incorporated what they call list modes. One of them they call a song mode, which if you've seen the Electro 5D or the Electro series, you'll notice in the latest series they offer this same song list mode. This allows you to group 5 of your sounds together. Might be if you're doing an intro, a verse, a chorus, a bridge, and an outro. Maybe that's how you want to organize the sounds and call it a song. For me, I use it for different patches that I might use in a set. So I look at it as a set list. It's an alternate way of organizing my programs. I can also organize those songs in the order that I want them, or these mini set lists, and I can do it all on the instrument without an external editor, which is really nice. The last major improvement they've added to this center section is now when you split, you have a variety of ways of doing a split. You have a direct split, one sound ends, the next one begins. You have a crossfade that they call a small amount, which will begin to blend the sounds together in the area where they overlap. And then you have a large crossfade. The large is really unbelievable how smooth it makes the transition. I find as a player when I'm playing something like piano and bass, it used to be really ugly when you would play a run and cross into the bass for a note or two. Now it's really a very smooth thing. We'll look at that as an example. They've also incorporated more features to make managing your sounds easier, such as copy and paste. So now you can copy a panel from one of the programs you've created and paste it into another program. So this is nice when you're making programs that use both an A and B panel. The synth section has been completely overhauled and now uses the A1 synthesizer engine. Those of you who've checked out Nord's A1 videos, you know how powerful that engine is. Lots of different configurations of synthesis, beautiful OLED display showing you what you're adjusting. You can see the waveforms you're adjusting. You can see the form of synthesis they've presented to you. You can now mix waveforms together with samples. In the earlier stage models, you had to pick either samples or you had to pick synthesizer waveforms. Now you can combine them. They've added a number of other features to the synthesizer section that make things very, very fun to operate. More controls now can be morphed in real time. In fact, they've done a great job now across the whole instrument of allowing you to morph many more of the parameters. The organ section now includes 2 pipe organ models. They've faithfully recreated these pipe organs and allow us to use the interface to step through the various stops. So instead of drawbars, they actually allow you to change stops. They sound amazing. If you're working in a house of worship or you're doing liturgical music, you'll love these organs. The effects section has also been upgraded. The delay section, for example, now offers an analog mode that simulates tape delay. Really very cool. And you can, in fact, apply a filter, whether you want a high-pass or a low-pass filter, so that as the delay decays and the number of iteration repeats happen, either you're losing high end or you're losing bottom end. Very, very cool. In the EQ section, they've added a low-pass and a high-pass 24 dB resonant filter. So now you can actually add resonant filters to the end of the chain of the sound that you've made. You can apply real-time control, morphing, such as the CC pedal, the mod wheel, or aftertouch, and control the sweeping frequency of the filter. Very, very cool. Also, a lot of users were asking, is there a way to apply different reverb to the A and B panels? Well, now you can. So for example, if I'm on an A panel and I'm playing a piano and I want a very small stage setting, I can set that. If I want to layer it with a string program and I want that in a very big hall, I can set that on panel B. And then when I combine panel A and B, they maintain their separate spatial placement. Let's dig into the new pipe organs and see what they offer. Very, very cool stuff. The front panel presents you with the ability to select what organ model you want. So I'm just going to push the button and select pipe organ 1. And now my drawbars will work as stops. So if I push a drawbar, I can increase the stop. In this case, they're labeled above, and they tell us what they are. Strings, flute, trumpet, things of that nature, which you would find on a pipe organ. Here's one of the presets I created, and you can get an idea of the sound of it. It's a beautiful sound, but now in real playing in a church situation, you're going to want to change the stops in real time. They give you a preset 1 and 2 button, which work across all organ models, by the way, so I can set up an immediate button press that will give me a full rank. But maybe there's times when I don't want a full rank. Maybe I just want to add a few stops. How do I do that while I'm playing? To reach up and grab some of these buttons? My favorite way is to put it on a controller and use the morphing technology. So I'm going to double button press on my control pedal, and I'm going to just increase a few of the lower stops and a few of the higher stops. And now as I move my controller, we can see the stops increase. Let's listen to what it sounds like. This in combination with using the preset 1 and 2 buttons allow me a lot of flexibility in live performance. I'm going to go back and set my preset 2 to a completely different sounding stop. And then I'm going to just play a short little improvisation using the pedal to bring in some additional stops and then the button to change the stops altogether. So you can hear a lot of timbral change is possible. I could then have, additionally, my controller, for example, my mod wheel, bringing in different stops on the preset 2 button. So again, a lot of variation can happen very quickly on the fly for live performance. I'm going to listen to pipe organ model 2 now. I'll use the same stops I used the first time, so you can kind of have a comparison how they sound different, but using the same stops. More pronounced high frequency. If you listen, I'll toggle between model 1 and model 2 with the same stops, and you'll get an idea of the variation in tone. This is model 1. Model 2. So you can hear the character has a lot more brightness, a little more mid-range quality to it as well. I like to combine these with samples. So in the sample section of the instrument, you also have cathedral organs. So when you start to combine the pipe organ with the cathedral organs that are found in samples, and again, using real-time controls to blend how much you hear of each of them, you get some really beautiful organ sounds. I'll show you one now that I created. Now, the way that I use the instrument, I like to simulate the space I'm in. So maybe I'll just increase the ambience here and make it sound like it's a much bigger cathedral. To me, that's what I listen for. So there's a little overview of the pipe organs and what's new in the organ section. Let's move on now and look a little deeper into what's changed in the piano section. I like to begin showing you the piano section by showing you this beautiful piano that they've recorded. They call the Royal Grand 3D. It was recorded with a dummy head with microphones in the hearing positions where your ears would be. So they recorded the piano as the player would have heard it. Just like to play a little bit of this piano and let you hear it. Again, polyphony was increased. Now you have 120 voices. It's beautiful. That's a very expressionate piano. In my opinion, the keyboard, the way it performs, the velocity, and the way the sound responds is just absolutely heaven to a pianist. I'm going to look at the new features now and show you one of the cool things they've added. I love the fact now that you can change the EQ right in the piano section with these 3 different curves. Here I'm going to boost up the very top end, and I'll toggle between these settings so you can hear the EQ changing. This is the brightest setting, using the same piano. This is a really great feature. As again, you can use your master EQ section for other things and EQ your piano kind of to taste here. I'm going to look at some of the other things that you can do now with this new category that I call digital that they've put on here. And in the digital section, this is called Digital Grand 1. I'll turn the EQ off. Digital 2. Some of you might recognize this as the Electric Grand, made many, many years ago, that some of us still have back problems from carrying. Ballady Piano 1. This can make it into any one of your R&B tunes with no problem. Ballad EP 2. Ballad E2 with a little high end pushed up from the EQ section. Now we're going to listen to the layer category. And what you find in here are pianos and electric pianos that have been reduced to a very small size. And they sound really great. And they're useful when you want to pack a lot of stuff into your piano memory section. And you don't want to necessarily have, let's say, 7 Fender Rhodes, but you might like one of the layered versions because you just like to layer it behind other sounds in the instrument. So here's one called Silver EP. Hybrid EP. That's a little flavor from the layers category. There's a really cool way now that you can detune multiple pianos if you layer them. If you use your A panel, for example, for a grand piano, I'll select one. In this case, I'll select the Lady D, which is a German Hamburg 9-foot instrument. And then on panel B, I'm going to select a piano. And in this case, I'm going to select maybe the Italian Grand. So now I'm going to play them together. Sounds okay. There's a little phase cancellation. You don't necessarily hear 2 distinct instruments. Now I'm going to apply some of the layer detuning. A little more. And now the most. That's a great feature because in the past, there was no way to detune 2 pianos if you layered them. Okay, let's look at the list mode now as it applies to the piano section. List mode is a way for you to see all the piano programs grouped together so you can quickly select the one that you want rather than scrolling through a whole bunch of programs. So if I hold my shift button and turn the knob, I now see a list presented in front of me, and it shows me there are 9 grand pianos loaded in here. So as I step through them, I have 3D, grand, etc., etc. So I can see everything that's loaded in my instrument from one view. This is really helpful. Let's suppose you download the pianos you want in your instrument, and you want to be able to see, what do I have in there for this gig? Maybe it's not the same grouping that you had for another gig that you did. So this way you can see exactly what is in the instrument in the piano section from one list. Let's take a look at some of the great improvements to the master section. One of the very, very cool things is now you can create these songs, which are essentially mini lists. They're groupings of 5 sounds that you have. And as you look at the control panel section, you see the beautiful OLED display, but underneath it you see these 5 buttons. Each one of them, you can put a sound on that you like out of your instrument. It can be a single panel A or a combination panel A and B. Therefore, then once you load up all 5 of them, you can store that and give it a name. So to get into song mode, I press the song mode button, and now I'm presented with a bank that I've named, CM Bank 2 in this case. And as I step across my 5 switches, I can see the programs that I wanted to put on these buttons. How do I do that? It's pretty simple. I hold the shift button and I hit song mode. And right now it's blinking. So I can tell the LEDs are all blinking. I can go to the first number 1 button and select a sound. In this case, I'm going to select Cathedral Organ 1. 2, maybe I'll put something new there, 12-string guitar. 3, I'll put a hybrid brass, etc. When I have what I like, I hit the store button, and I hit store again, and it's now saved that bank, that song that I've called CM Bank 2. It gives me information at the top of the OLED display telling me this is song 1-12. If you look through, you have many songs you can program yourself. You have a very long list, and I believe in each song there's 50 entries, and there's 8 songs, so you have 400 slots. Very, very cool. There's a pedal you can even plug in the back that allows you to increment or decrement through your programs. So I'll go back to a bank that I created here, and I just want to step through them. In this case, I'm going to reverse. I'm going to go down through the programs. So as I step on the pedal, we can see I'm now stepping through. This is great. Again, live performance is what this instrument is about. Let's take a look at the new crossfade algorithms that you now can apply to a split. For me to get into a split is very simple. I hit the split button on the top. I am presented with an LED that's illuminated showing me where the split happens. On Nord stage instruments, it happens between E and F and B and C. Right now I want to change the split point, so I can just hold the split button down. I'm presented with a screen that shows me the split position. In this case it says F4. As I step down, you can see I've moved the LED now. It's between the E and the F below middle C. I have a piano that's going to play to the right of the split point. To the left right now, I haven't assigned anything. On panel B, I'm going to assign a bass. And to assign an instrument to a zone, I hold the shift button and I touch the select button, and I can see LEDs illuminate telling me whether it's to the left or the right of the split or full keyboard. Right now, I put the bass to the left, and I'm going to put the piano to the right. So now I have a split where the piano and bass are split between E and F. As I said before, it's always frustrated me when I'm playing and I cross the split point by accident. An example, I'm just playing a very simple kind of a groove. I hate that when that happens. So they provided this crossfade ability. To get there and change it to a crossfade, I just hold the split button again, and I'm presented with the window where I had set my split point and an arrow and a set of menus underneath. If I had had a low split point, I could have created it. And again, because you can split in 4 places, you could have had a low, a high, and a middle, creating 4 separate zones. So I'm going to go and press the right arrow, and I'm now presented with split width. I'm going to be doing the split using the mid section, and I'm going to go for a large crossfade. And let's hear what that sounds like. Remember, my split is between E and F. Notice the LED for the split turns red from green, indicating now that I have a crossfade on. So let's listen to a similar example when I cross over by accident. Much smoother. You can still hear a little bass being introduced, but it's not that brick wall. Let's look at list mode now in the center section, as it provides us a list of what's in the instrument in terms of our programs. Just like list showed us what pianos were in the piano section, list in the center section shows us what's in the instrument. To get there, hold Shift and turn the knob. Now I'm presented with a list, and I can scroll through the list and see what's in the instrument. Again, these kinds of tools are very, very helpful to help you stay organized and to speed up your workflow. Again, Nord is thinking about me and productivity, so they now allow me to copy and paste A and B panels to different locations. So let's say I'm playing a program. I'm going to randomly scroll the knob and decide if I like A or B. And if I do, I'm going to copy it. Then I'm going to scroll to something else, and I'm going to paste it in to either A or B location. So I scroll. I have, in this case, small ensemble. Let's listen to what's on the A panel alone and the B panel. I like the B panel, for example, so I want to copy it. So I hold the copy button and I touch B. I'm presented with a screen that says copied small ensemble slot B. Great, the display is so helpful telling me that. So now I'm going to go to another program. I'll pick something like CP8 Soft, and I want to paste that on, let's say, the B section. So to do that, I hold Shift, copy, and touch B. And now it says pasted small ensemble to slot B of B. So now I have a new combination. In this case, I'm using an electric grand, and now my Sweet Squares program has been replaced. This came from the program that I just copied it from. If we listen to just the B panel, which is what we had copied earlier, and pasted in. Again, these kinds of additional tools make work so much easier. While I'm in this list mode, let's supposing I want to reorganize the order of my patches. I want to move a few into different locations. I can do that all within this list mode. Again, to get into list mode, I hold Shift, I turn the knob, I'm presented with the list, and now by holding Shift and touching Organize, I can now see an up and down arrow. If I turn the knob, I can move this Velvet Silver program up and down in the list to where I'd like it, and then let it go there. If I want to change the program volume of a sound, I can also do that by holding Shift and touching program level. I can now adjust an offset to the overall program. This is helpful when you have an A and B panel layered that are using multiple engines at the same time, and all you want to do is turn the overall gain down, rather than having to go to each individual engine and reduce the gain and then resave it. You can simply do it here. Again, another great feature. The Nord Stage 3 synth section, to me, gets me very excited. It's based on the A1. Let me just play a few patches for you quickly here and let you hear some of the possibilities. And again, these are just a handful that I put together really quickly for this presentation. There's a lot of sound shaping capability. Let's take a look much deeper. Again, I'm just scratching the very tip of a couple of possibilities. It goes very, very deep. So first off, let's take a look at the architecture. I'm just going to step through some of the presets and let you look at what comes up in the configuration in the OLED display. Check out the diagram that's showing us what's changing. You getting the idea? Just from looking at those pictures, there's different configurations, and the way you select them is very simple. You hold the shift button down, and you turn the configuration knob. So we'll just step through, and then I'll talk about what you're actually looking at here. The first is a simple sine wave. If we listen to it by itself, simple sine wave. Right now we're in legato mode. Obviously, you have a mono mode and a legato mode. You also have unison, so you can fatten the voices up if you want. Right now, I'm going to shut all that off so we hear just raw waveforms. Right now, we're just hearing a very raw sine wave. No modulation. As I turn the oscillator knob directly beneath it, I can select triangle, saw, square, and different variations on pulse. These are some more unique ways. These are all found under the category of classic waveforms. If I select a different kind of synthesis, in this case, I'm going to pick my super waves. And the super waves are detuned, multiple waves. In this case, we have a super saw. That's a single voice playing each note, so we're not gobbling up polyphony. If we step through, here is a super saw 2. Even more detuned. Then we get to super square 2, etc. You get the idea. So they have some very fat waveforms, and again, multiple layers happening in these super waves. We can then feed that through the synth architecture, through the filters and envelopes, etc. So what else do we get? Well, we get, of course, sample playback, which you've seen before in other Nord stage instruments. The library has grown. The polyphony, as I said earlier, has grown to 34 voices. And then we can also look through in the samples. We can combine the samples with waveforms by changing the configurations. So as we do that, wow, now we can blend samples together, in this case, a sub-oscillator. So let's see what we have. We just have a regular orchestra strings and a sub-oscillator. And this control knob allows me to mix between them. So right now, here's the sample. We'll add the sub in. Still a single voice. This is great. This was never before possible in the synth section on the Nord Stage 2 and 2EX. Before I leave the sample section, I want to show you something they added that I love as well. So I'll just go back to a straight sample playback. They added what they call fast attack. Fast attack was created by the sound designers when they made the samples, the multi-key maps. They decided, let's move a pointer way inside the original attack to a place that gets rid of the actual original attack and gives me a sharp, hard attack. They call it fast attack. To engage that, I hold shift and I touch the fast attack button, and now that same string section starts with a much sharper attack. Here's without it. Here's with it. This is really helpful when you want to use a synth envelope and you want to control how the sound evolves. You don't want the sample to determine that for you. So as we continue down the path of what is in here as a synthesizer, we come to the fact that now we can assign waves that are called secondary waves. This one is called second, and as we listen to it, we're going to hear more harmonic. As we turn the knob, I'm going to scroll through them rather than speaking and let you hear a variety of them. There's a lot, and they're awesome, and they're great starting places for building synth patches. And then also we have this really cool ability to go for this, what I call vocal synthesis or format synthesis. Right now, here's some of the vowel sounds they give us. So again, using the morphing technology found in Nord, having an A and B panel, we can smoothly morph between one or the other, or we can morph the controls to actually morph between different vowel sounds. Very, very powerful stuff. We haven't even begun to shape it using filters or envelopes or any of the rest of the synthesis tools. These are just the raw waves that you're listening to. As we step through the configurations a little further, we're going to start to see things like sync, a classic synthesis technique. Again, adding another sub of a unique waveform. This is adding a mix of a bell kind of texture. And we can tune it. This is a form of FM that's going on, as you can hear by the distortion and the side bands that are created. Now we have noise we're blending in. Tuned noise. And this is one of my favorites, ring modulator. To me, the filters really determine the characteristic of the overall sound of the instrument. So let's look at this new filter that's a combination of low pass and high pass. They use two different knobs to control the low and the high pass. The frequency knob controls the low pass, and then you have a resonance knob that in this case, when you select that filter type, will control the high pass frequency. So I'll just move the high pass for a second. And now I'll move the low pass. This is great because in a single synthesis patch now using only a panel or B panel, you can have high pass and low pass to a particular sound. In addition, you find what you would expect here. You have high pass, band pass, low pass 24 and 12 dB. And then you have, of course, the ladder filter made famous in the analog synthesizer company. We won't mention their name here. Nord added drive now to the filter, and you have a button that will give you 3 stages of drive. This is kind of a soft clipping that happens to the filter and brings more character to the sound. So let's listen to the drive now applied to the filter. I just have a simple resonance sweep going on a sawtooth wave. So you can hear that kind of nice crunch, that nice kind of overdrive. Really great for different kinds of musical styles. The synth section, not to be left out, also provides a list function for you. To hit the Shift button and turn the knob marked List, you can then look at a list of what presets are in the machine at this time. And these, again, are the waveforms that you're looking at. So we can quickly find waves that we're looking for under Classic. If we switch to a different selection of waves, in this case I went from Classic to some of the digital waveforms, we see a different list pop up showing us what's in memory. And again, if we switch to the super waves or to the phonemes, we can see what is in the instrument at one time. Again, very helpful to locate what you want very quickly rather than scrolling through presets. The effects section, as I said earlier, has been upgraded also. I'm going to show you what's new in the effects section. Let's start out with the delay. I'm going to add a delay to a simple Fender Rhodes program, and I'm going to engage the analog mode, again, that simulates tape echo. I'm going to also use a high-pass filter that's going to happen, so as the delay iterations happen, you're going to hear the filter lose bottom end. I love this. If you put this on, for example, a Mellotron string sample, it's really great. So I'll just pick one of those, put a little release on. You also have a bandpass filter you can engage or a low-pass filter. I'll put the bandpass on. And finally, the low pass. That's when it's time to change your tape. Of course, you can lock together your clocks as you could in the Stage 2. So you have a master clock. You can set your delays, your arpeggiators to a clock division, quarter note, eighth note, 16th note, or triplets, and have the machine also sync up over MIDI to external. In the amp simulator section and the EQ section, a new thing has been added as well, which are resonant filters, as I mentioned earlier, a high pass and a low pass, 24 dB. Let's listen to them on a synth program. And I'm going to engage now a resonant filter. The mid control for gain, for mid, for the sweepable parametric, that control now for gain is now your resonance control, and the frequency is still frequency for the filter. Likewise, for high pass, by switching that, I can high pass out the low frequencies. These are great new additions, and I found using them in certain programs makes a lot of sense. For example, I made a program that is a Rhodes program that I then put through the resonant filters in the EQ section, and the end result is this. Thanks again for watching. I'm Chris Martirano, and this is the Nord Stage 3. For more information, contact Craft Music, and don't forget to check out those great bundles.